Hey, Christian here, and this is the revised presentation for my prototyping proposal. I'll be reviewing the overall plan for my thesis project and giving some updates and additional details since my last video. The proposed title for my project is Tentacular, the Agency of Speculative Fiction in Augmented Reality. My goal is to create a non-linear fictional narrative in augmented reality, exploring the agency of media and the potentialities of speculative works. My principal advisor, Ala Rushan, has provided some great resources for relevant theoretical frameworks and contemporary speculative artists. In a recent article, Sleep of Reason, an atlas of the philosophical imaginary, co-written with Charles Stankovich, Delia Hanna, and Nadim Saman, the authors provide definitions for what they describe as an atlas of the monstrous throughout philosophical history. Somewhat serendipitously, one of the definitions that Ala contributed was for the term cephalopod. As we descend into the darkness of the deep ocean, we also descend into an unknown region we know less about than our solar system. Stories abound of sea monsters lurking at the ends of the earth, on the blank spots on maps, and 20,000 leagues beneath our breath. Taking different forms, one creature perennially appears in philosophers' thought as an other, the cephalopod, a taxonomic class collecting octopus, squid, cuttlefish, and nautilus. Cephalopods share a shape-shifting potential that not only provides them with camouflage and sophisticated signaling in the wild, but also provides us with a malleable monster for our phobias and fantasies. For Donna Haraway, Cthulhu, an ancient alien octopus-like monster from H.P. Lovecraft's American Gothic science fiction, functions as an antagonist to our human-centric era, often referred to as the Anthropocene. Rather than suggesting a critical take that focuses on the human, a Cthulhu scene, in Haraway's terms, decenters the human and creates a multi-species network of relations. Polyperverse cephalopods with their orgies, drag performances, and psychedelic dreaming have fascinated philosophers in the past, and will continue to tempt them as rising waters encroach our shores. This definition really encapsulates the mysterious and illusory nature of tentacular beings and why such an embodiment seems appropriate for the structure of my project. While I want to leave room to adapt the narrative and the content of the AR experience based on findings throughout the research creation process, such as the affordances and limitations of the technology, I've been giving considerable thought to the fictional story element of the project. The structure of the narrative itself will take on a tentacular form, each appendage with its own agency to grab a hold of the user as they are entangled and devoured by the experience. After a brief introduction from the unnamed narrator, a series of paths would appear, each radiating from the user's perspective surrounding them. At the end of each extremity would be a sphere or totem of some kind that triggers one part of the narrative in any order the user chooses. Each of these sections would be a unique exploration of the theoretical, philosophical, technological, and historical ideas behind the story, culminating in a nefariously campy finale once the user has been fully engulfed by the narrative. I'm still working on the particulars of the story, but the main theme is the evolution of media technology in relation to the progress of humanity as a sort of symbiotic or even parasitic relationship. Currently, most accessible AR devices are handheld with very few wearable headset options and even fewer marketed at a consumer level. Thankfully, that will most likely be changing soon, with several major developers working on AR glasses and headsets that may even be released before the end of this project. For now, the best solution seems to be an assembled device along the lines of the technology stack implemented in a previous OCAD Digital Futures thesis project from Nick Alexander, comprised of a VR headset, a specialized external camera, and hand tracking technology. Nick used an HTC Vive for his project, but my Oculus Rift should also work based on the specs I could find. The Z Mini camera uses two lenses which are optimized for AR pass-through video, and the Leap Motion hand tracking sensor allows for intuitive interaction without handheld controllers. Although these devices aren't cheap, they are relatively affordable since I already have the VR headset, and purchasing my own equipment to develop with would definitely be preferable to borrowing equipment I may have limited access to. This single unit wearable solution would allow for an immersive and intuitive experience akin to what will likely be available in the near future. Another benefit of this technology is that it is compatible with development in Unity, which supports extremely robust interactions and animations. Although I have previously built some AR and VR experiences using Unity and other tools such as Vuforia and Reality Composer, I would still consider myself a novice. That said, I have learned that even low-poly 3D objects with very simple animations can have an impressive effect when viewed in augmented space, so I'm excited to try different approaches and ultimately showcase a variety of experiments. The key element I hope to focus on during this initial prototyping phase is essentially the user interface. Ideally, I would like to get the hand tracking working to trigger interactions and have a basic structure for the tentacular framework. I imagine the paths starting out static and structured in a dormant state at the beginning, becoming more organic and fluid as the story progresses, and finally awakening to be fully alive, reaching out toward the user on its own toward the end. So I'd really like to begin iterating on that aspect as well. First up, I'll be ordering the Z Mini camera and Leap motion sensor as soon as this week in order to have my Unity environment set up before starting the rapid prototyping phase. I'll also be working on the 5-minute presentation to share my proposed thesis project and prototyping plan with the CFC Media Lab. After that, we'll be getting into 3 weeks of rapid prototyping with frequent revisions. That will take us to the end of this course, at which point I'll be reflecting on the rapid prototyping process and moving into more intensive development throughout Thesis 1 and 2. I'm looking forward to beginning the research creation process and discovering what these new tools are capable of. I haven't done this kind of structured rapid iteration before, so it should be an interesting process. Can't wait to get started and see how it goes for everyone. Thanks!